I actually do care for Georgia though.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's just been a thought, and now I've just said it out loud.
I feel like knowing her personality and knowing your personality, you could be really good for her.
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry my reviews are going to be very late. I'm currently on holiday. I will be on holiday for a bit, so I will try and do my reviews when I get time, but hey, it is what it is. So what Toby is a mess. Toby's a hot mess. That recoupling was drama. Two things shocked me: the fact that Casey eventually coupled up with Kaz, and Toby, for him choosing Georgia S. No, I'm not surprised. Georgia S was just waiting for Toby to come back, and when he was ready, he came back and she took him back because she should have reacted differently. She didn't even acknowledge Callum when Toby called her name. So hey, it is what it is. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. To go Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island All Stars Season 1, Episode 16. This is infuriating and I don't even know where to start. I remember in the comments I was having a sort of conversation with someone about the way Kaz is being treated in the villa. And I feel Kaz should stay in the villa. I don't think she should self-eliminate just because I want people's biases to show and people's race sort of baiting to show, in the sense that they bring Kaz in, they don't bring anyone that likes Kaz. They bring someone like Molly in, they bring 200 guys that want Molly. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. How would people feel if tables were turned? If they were bringing all guys that said they wanted Kaz and no one wanted Molly, people would be up in arms. So I would like to see what happens. Let's keep it going. Let's see what the viewers think. Because I think at some point somebody has to say something. The producers cannot continue to go on this way. Anyway, I digress. And so you have, I don't get the Georgia H and the Casey, whatever that was. It seems they had some sort of situationship, went on a trip, came back, she was sitting in economy, and something happened, whether she was upset that she was sitting in economy, and they decided to call it quits. That's the impression that I get from what I've seen. And so for Casey to sit down with Tom and sort of have a conversation about what do I do, how do we move forward, where does this relationship go, doesn't make sense to me. And for Georgia to be sitting there and having a conversation about the fact that, oh, why hasn't Casey pulled Georgia H for a chat? It's like, why does he need to pull her for a chat? If the two of you called it quits, that's it. You don't need to pull each other for chats. They are so clingy and they always want to talk about this history. We've got a history, we've got a history. And for Casey to be telling people that he's interested in Molly, and it's like, there are girls that are single in the villa. There's Georgia H, there's Kaz, and yet everybody wants Molly, who's in a relationship or who's in a couple with his best friend. Make that make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Josh and Sophie eventually have a conversation, and Sophie's sort of saying that she's closed things off with Chris, and she's told him that she's decided to focus on Josh. And for Josh not to come back and say that I'm still interested in getting to know, I don't remember Josh saying that he's interested in getting to know Joanna. And it's like, this is a ticking time bomb. I said this before. I think he likes being the center of attention, and I feel like his ego was bruised when Sophie was still considering things with Chris. Now that he is the one with the decision, he's now going to show himself out, in the sense that he's gone to the terrace with Tom and he's having a conversation about, oh, he's having a conversation with Tom about, oh, Sophie has told me that, she's closed things off with Chris and she's now only interested in me. And so that is us. How do you get, oh, we get along very great, but I've told her that if, Joanna wants to get to know me, then I'm open to that. And it's like, this is going to end in tears. And for him to say it's a test, it makes me believe that the producers are the ones that are pushing this, because every other week there's a love triangle. That's the impression that I get. Anyway, the islanders gather around the fire pit to play a game. So the islanders play Never Have I Ever, and it was just to be messy and just to bring up dirty laundry from one another. That's more or less the impression that I get, in the sense that the main things that were brought up were who's had a one-night stand, who's doing busy touching or bumping uglies in the villa, who has ghosted somebody else. And it was more about Casey and Georgia than anything else. And Georgia took great offense to it because Casey wouldn't acknowledge that he ghosted her. And then eventually the drama started. I knew it was coming. For them to then sort of have a conversation about who voted for who to go home, because it was brought, never have I ever looked at someone and said maybe they should have gone home. And so Georgia H took it upon herself to say, oh, I was told that, apart from Chris, Josh, and Anton, everybody else wanted me to go home. And that's when things fell apart. And I hate the disrespect. I've just been proved right because I said the bias against Kaz I wanted to be shown, and it has been shown in the sense that when she was trying to talk, people were talking all over her and sort of avoiding her sort of speaking her truth, which is very sad that it took Molly to sort of say, Molly, I've seen, yes, they don't portray her as Kaz's best friend, but I've seen her stand up for Kaz more times than are acknowledged by the show, because she said Kaz is trying to speak and they wouldn't acknowledge that. And eventually she had to say, look, now Kaz is upset because Kaz stood up and walked off. And for Georgia H to continue to talk about what happened, well, it was good in a sense because it exposed Anton's lies. I remember saying that Anton was trying to look for favor from Georgia H by telling her what had happened at the voting. And for all the guys to say, no, that's not what happened. There was so-and-so and so-and-so were in the bottom. It wasn't just you. I can't wait to see what happens. And so now everybody's walked away. The game is ended. And I like that, Molly was one of the people to run and sort of comfort Kaz and sort of check on her and make sure that she's okay, because nobody else seemed to care. And I know friends Toby and Chris were always going to check on her, but to see the girl stand up for her and actually run up to her was amazing. I also like that once she had pacified herself, she came back and she actually said to Georgia H, I hate the way you made me feel. For Georgia H to say, oh, I didn't think it was about her, because she was one of the names mentioned that she should have gone home. And for you to not acknowledge that shows that you're playing games and you're pretending to be naive of what actually transpired. I think if Georgia H is wondering why all the guys in the villa sort of ghost her, this is her answer, because her conversation with Kaz didn't go anywhere, because Kaz was trying to explain to her that you were in the bottom three, but the final two were myself and Hannah, and so the guys had to choose, and this is why Hannah went home. And so for her not to give Kaz a chance to speak or not be willing to listen to what Kaz was saying and still say, oh, I love you, I'm sorry if I upset you. Well, what do you think, Sherlock Holmes? You over talking me is hurting my feelings. You not giving me the opportunity to sort of express myself is hurting my feelings. So no apology is going to help or is going to be of any service if you don't give me a chance to speak, if you don't allow me to speak my truth, because all you're doing is you're talking over me, you're not giving me an opportunity to speak. And so I don't know what else to do in regards, as sort of resolving this conflict. And so the love triangle or the love square, that's Tom, Molly, Casey, and Georgia H, doesn't make sense to me, because Casey pulls Molly for a chat, and then you have Georgia H crying to Josh and Sophie that, so Georgia H is crying, how could he pull his best friend's girlfriend when our all best friends, yeah, a girlfriend more or less because they're in a couple, while I'm here? Why is he not choosing me? Why can't somebody choose me first? And it's like, please sit down someone. You at least have had people pay attention to you. You've got Anton at your feet like a little lost puppy. Kaz hasn't got anyone. So please, we're not buying the tears and we're not buying whatever you're saying. And I give it to Molly to sort of call out Casey and say, this doesn't make sense. Why would you be interested in your best friend's girl that he's currently courting? Make it make sense. This is very awkward. This is very uncomfortable. She already closed. Him listening to that should have been enough to tell him that she's not interested and she's going to go off Tom, because if Tom can sort of offer her up to his friend, what does that mean? Or what does that mean about his feelings towards her or his seriousness in exploring a seriously sort of in-depth connection? It doesn't make sense. It seems more or less like he's just there entertaining until his type of person comes in, because why would he agree to have his best mate explore anything with her? And this is what she asked him, and he said, oh, I think Casey realized they'd screwed up, because he was, no, he just said to me, if you had come in and if I came in after you and I liked the girl you're coupled with, I know you would give me the opportunity. And it's like, it's not up to you guys, it's up to the girls to see whether or not they're interested in exploring anything with you or not. If they are, they explore. If not, they keep it moving. And so sadly, the two of you have screwed up in your attempt to preserve your friendship and see who Molly will pick. Because Molly had picked Tom, and sadly, Tom, this is how he's going to lose her. Am I the only one who's confused? Because you have a conversation between, Joanna and Josh is sort of asking who's your top three, and he names his top three. His top three are Sophie, obviously, is in a couple with her, Joanna, and Georgia H. And it's like, but you close things off with Georgia H. When did you go back to wanting to explore a connection with her? Make that make sense? That doesn't make sense. Joanna, on her part, says, her top three are Chris, Casey, and Josh. And it's like, this is just for. I think they're pretending to be vague. I think they're there for the opportunities that come with being on the show, but I don't think they're there to seriously look for love. I don't think any of the islanders at the moment are there to look for love. I think they're all there for entertainment. I think Callum and Kaz are the only two people that come across as looking for love. Callum, in the sense that as soon as he found it with, Georgia S, he thinks he's now in love, when we all know that Georgia S is not feeling him that way. Because I think if Toby were to call her back, she would go running. And I think also if Tom were to call her back, she'd go running as well. So the islanders get ready for bed. And for Anton to sleep outside, I think it was attention seeking. It wasn't that bad that he would need to sleep outside. I think he was just trying to prove a point, or he was trying to get sympathy from the other islanders. Because in the morning he comes back and he apologizes for the tension from the night before. I hate that no one has actually apologized to Kaz sincerely about what happened the previous night at the fire pit, in the sense that nobody wanted to listen to her. So I hate the fact that Georgia H's apology, I don't think, was genuine. I think she just did that to save face in case the viewers have to vote. And in regards Anton, for him to apologize to the group, I feel like he should have apologized to Kaz as well. That's just my opinion. The debriefing, I hate debriefs. I don't even know why. I like the fact that during her debrief, Kaz got to sit with her besties. So she got to sit with Chris and she got to sit with Toby. So at least she could fully express herself without sort of people talking over her or dismissing whatever she was saying or minimizing her opinion. So I liked that. Callum, people are teasing him. Callum is way further down in his feelings than Georgia S is. I think Georgia S is with him because she knows he's going to get a lot of airtime, and I think this is why she's entertaining him. She's already said she's not sexually attracted to him, even though she came back and said she was. In regards Toby's crazy. Toby's a fool, because you have Arabella saying we're growing closer and closer, and yet Toby is starting to consider things with Georgia S, and it's like, are you considering because you really like her, or are you considering because she's popular with the viewers? Are you wanting her to keep you safe? Because even Chris said to him, if you recouple Georgia S, then you cannot play her and say you want somebody else. You have to stay in that couple. So I think Toby's being strategic. I don't know whether he likes. I think with the way she's moved around the villa, I wouldn't want to couple up with her, and I wouldn't even want my enemy to couple up with her. It seems like the double dumping has people working overtime to try and be in everybody's good books, because if people get to voting, they don't want people to vote them out. If people are in a romantic couple, they're hoping they're in a romantic couple with someone who's popular, because you have Anton have a conversation with Georgia H and sort of try and sort of iron out their differences about what happened the night before. Georgia H, I think, was more understanding with Anton than she was with Kaz. She didn't even listen to what Kaz was saying. She was very dismissive. So I don't get it. I think Anton has been turned off Georgia H because of that incident. He might not have said it out loud, but it looked like he had. And then for Joanna to sort of sit down with Chris and ask, are you still interested in me? I think that's strategic. I think she's trying to be vague. I think if she had her way, Joanna would be in a couple with Josh. But sadly, as she said to Josh when she had a conversation with him, he's not pulling her for chats, but Chris is pulling her. And it's like, Chris is in a romantic couple. Josh, I think it's for his ego, in the sense that Sophie had people chasing after her and he had no one chasing after him. And now he has the opportunity, he's going to try and use it to his advantage. For Georgia H and Casey, well, now we know why Casey was turned off. Casey was turned off by her meditating stuff, and all this has just been to say that I don't know why he didn't tell her off the jump. And for her, hopefully this is it, and it irons out their issues and they move on, because we are tired of that conversation. We are tired of that disagreement. I think we need to move on. And to see Molly and Tom having a conversation and sort of trying to iron out their differences, I guess Tom has realized his mistake. I think he's going to try and be a good boy and is not going to allow Casey to sort of explore anything else with Molly, because he did tell Molly that, oh, if you were my girlfriend, then I wouldn't allow my friend to speak to my girlfriend. But because at the moment we're still sort of exploring things, this is why I was open to him getting to know you. And it's like, okay, if that's what you think. So the islanders then decide to get ready for the night, and while they're getting ready, Casey and Joanna receive messages to say that they will be a recoupling and they get first dibs. And so I was nervous. Every time there's a recoupling, I'm nervous for my girl Kaz. So first up is Casey, and Casey starts to talk about this girl has had a hard time, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, who is he talking about? Because when we were shown him and Kaz having a conversation, I didn't like that sort of conversation, in the sense that they were talking about their fears, and then Casey sort of spoke about the fact that what if a snake bit him on his little Casey, would Kaz suck the poison out? And I like the comeback that Kaz came with and told him that no, I'll get your friend Tom to say, Tom, come and say goodbye. And Casey had to laugh because he said, oh, I thought you were going to say something else about Tom, that you're going to get Tom to come and suck it out. And it's like, if the shoe fits, then hey, it is what it is. And next up is Joanna. Am I surprised by who she picked? No. But you could see the disappointment in Josh's face. I think he thought she was going to pick him, and her not picking him is quite a shock for him. I don't think he expected that, and it's sort of taken him aback. When Joanna was speaking, you saw Chris sort of look at Sophie. So I think Chris's goal was always going to be to pick Sophie if Joanna had picked, Josh. So now that Chris has been picked, you could see Josh wasn't happy. He wasn't happy at all. Next up is Tom. Tom, are we surprised by who he picked? No. The fact that he said, it's unlikely that my head is going to be turned. Well, what do we expect? What do we expect? He's smitten with Molly, and so it's to be expected that he would want to stay in a couple with her. Next up is Anton. Who do I think Anton is going to pick? Anton's speech was aimed at having a dig at Casey, in my opinion. I think Anton wanted to prove a point because he really likes Georgia H. And this is why he got in trouble with the boys and will do and say anything to try and make her feel good. The fact that he spoke about her being spiritual, when that's one of the things that Casey sort of said turned him off. To me, he was trying to be her hero, and he's been trying to do this, and sadly, it's not gaining him any points. So I don't get why. And then we have Toby. Toby's a mess. Toby's a fool, because when he spoke to Chris and Kaz about his connection with Georgia H, I didn't understand that. They were taken aback as well, and they disagreed with him as their friend. And so for him to stand at the fire pit and sort of make the speech that he made, it makes sense. Because when he had a conversation prior to the recouplings with Georgia, she seemed to accept his apology, and she seemed to be more empathetic with the situation, in the sense that she was saying, oh, at the time I didn't understand what you meant by saying that you wanted to explore other connections and you couldn't do that if we were kissing and making out, but now I've since understood it. I wasn't surprised that he chose to couple up with Georgia S. And Georgia S, I don't think was surprised either. I think she saw this coming and she knew it was coming. And for her to sit down and not even acknowledge Callum doesn't make sense. Everybody nearly fell off the fire pit because they couldn't understand what was happening. They could not understand how Toby decided to recouple with Georgia S, given the drama that they caused in the villa when they split up in the first place. And everybody felt sorry. You could tell they felt sorry for Callum because he wasn't expecting this. This came out of left field. But then what did he think was happening when he saw Georgia S and Toby speaking? This was bound to happen, and sadly he's lost the girl that really liked him in Molly, and is now left with nothing. Really, he's left with nothing, and so it's now going to be him either choosing. I think chances are he's going to pick. Well, if he goes next, he has no choice but to pick Arabella. And sadly, Arabella, beautiful as she is, it seems she can't seem to find a connection with the guys in the villa. I don't get it. I really don't get it. This recoupling was mad, really mad. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 15. I will upload my next review at some point, but I will try and do it as soon as I can when I get time. Bye, guys.